following broadcast is brought to you by A.C.T, Agorism Center of Thought. Here only on the Voluntary Virtues Network. Every Saturday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on the dark side of radio. Agora, Anarchy, Action. Bienvenidos. Welcome, friends, comrades, fellow revolutionaries, fellow Agorists, and the new libertarians in the revolution for freedom. Welcome. This is the Agora Underground, as you know, on the Voluntary Virtues Network every Saturday, 8 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We started a little bit later than usual today. We do thank you for coming on. I am your host, Comrade Dick, sitting here with Darian, the humanitarian.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Thanks for joining us here on the Agora Underground. We're feeling to get into some interesting topics today, aren't we, here, comrade?
Oh yeah, definitely. Last week we broke down. I went through the principles that kind of come together, synthesized together in order to form Agorism as the full philosophy that it is today. And we discussed a whole litany of things. But we did leave out not only, of course, the grand finale, the contributions of Agorism, but we also left out some side topics on the contributions of Austrian economics, which I would love to get into. We did get into the idea of homesteaded property and how property eventually leads to trade. And of course, the trade gives birth to catalytics and economics. Well, we didn't get a chance to break down economics, so let's make a transition from Austrian economics to Agorism. Before we get started, though, Darian, how was your week, brother? How was liberty? How was your week in freedom? You have any big events happen? I know you're always out cop hunting, cop fishing, and cop blocking. So
Well, recently I went to the Million Mass March. They had a little get together here in San Antonio, and I was able to attend that with homeboy Henry Havoc, and we were down there, and it was really amazing.
You're talking about the I'm sorry for cutting you off. You're talking about the Million Mass March with the Guy Fawkes.
With the Guy Fawkes mass.
November 5th November. What is it?
Remember the 5th of November. The gunpowder treason should not
be forgotten.
Something like that, man.
Be forgotten. I mean, it's crazy. That's a whole story in itself. But yeah, so you're out there hanging out with a bunch of anonymous people down in San Antonio, and what happened, man? You and AK hanging out, AK 47.
Well, it was really interesting and very it's very openly spoken on Havoc's part, which is pretty badass to see. I mean, even I, wouldn't go out a cop like that, but that kind of encouraged me to push the limits. You know what I mean? We were down there. Everybody had a different topic to talk about. Some people were talking about our economical problems. Some people were talking about the national debt. People talking about GMOs and Monsanto's monopoly on agriculture, and everybody's tackling different subjects. And I mean, of course, police brutality is this main focus of a lot of these people, is because it's a real common,
Yeah. It's rampant.
It's everywhere, So we were all talking, and it was really fun, man. It was great being out there, even though here in Texas in San Antonio it was raining on November the 5th, but that didn't break the spirit of people going out there to expose the truth, to speak the word. It didn't stop us. Most people here in San Antonio, if it's a rainy day, not a whole lot of people commute. Not a whole lot of people go out and do things. That this may be more common in Florida and stuff like that, because in places where it rains a lot in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
But here, a lot of people don't go out. But we had a good number of people. I mean, obviously it wasn't a Million Mass March, but remember, this is a worldwide event, so there probably were in total worldwide 1 million people who marched. And
who knows? We'll see the numbers, but yeah. Regardless, though, I see what you're saying. There's people getting pissed off, exerting their frustration with the system, and though it's completely valid, a lot of times it's unfortunate that that they're just it seems like the struggle and just struggling and just calling things out is their only solution. When this is what I love about agorism, it really offers a strategy, right? And it offers a pathway to achieving the emancipation, the complete liberation of man.
Yes, yes, yes. It is the stepping stones. Agorism, uh, what I'm referring to, is the stepping stones for people who are mostly in the activist community are considered the couch potato activists. No
Or
knows.
the couch potato libertarians. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they
So
know it
so
all. But
agorism is a stepping stones to becoming more than that, to becoming more street active, to becoming more of the
and
producer, and
yeah,
you're really giving like you said, a strategy
and it's
to fight back the state apparatus.
oh, of course, and it's really a collectivist effort in the sense that, so what if you have the guys that are sitting around and reminiscing longer about things and other people that are focusing more on objectives, and establishing concrete goals. So long as those people that are establishing concrete goals, are consistent and they're falling within the paradigms outlined, the truth outlined, not by these people, but they just outline what they saw to be a reality. Just because someone calls something out doesn't mean that that truth emanates from them. It just simply means that they're just describing something that's eternal, something that's always going to be there, right? We're not so much we're mortals, right? So definitely we do appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, we do know that your time is precious, and you guys are precious. We're all individual sovereigns here.
Yeah,
Definitely
humanity is beautiful.
yeah, living in this collectivist world, it's dark, right? So that's neat. And you know what? Definitely a lot of crypto guys out there, I would imagine, in the anonymous crowd. I mean, so that's definitely, we'll get into that, because did crypto anarchy really extend from agorism? We'll see. Getting into the economic factors, just some of the key points that Austrian economic brought into the whole economic field, so that we all kind of understand where we're, a little bit kind of like above and beyond our basic Adams, Smith, or Smithsonian, or like Marxist, Karl Marx, economic view. Um, Understanding economics, the first guy that's considered the father of economics, right? The first creator of economics, Karl Menger, a guy in the 1880s, I think, somewhere in between there, that decade. 1880 is when he wrote his book, Principles of Economics, and it was a classic, because not only did it offer a very articulate explanation of the production cycle from the be considered the highest goods, like high level goods, down to as it gets produced and refined to the lower goods, until it's the thing that you use, right? The hammer or the loaf of bread that you consume, like it came from whatever, something prior to that. So in his view, it goes from higher to lower being the stuff you consume. That was pretty neat, because that comes into economics later on the cycle. But the main thing that revolutionized economics, the main thing he's known for contributing, was the idea of marginal utility. That's a fancy word for saying the subjective theory of value. The idea that each individual has their own subjective value in what they spend their time and their energy and their resources exerting into.
Richard. I remember you having a little chat with somebody, Lucius. Remember when he was talking about the cure for cancer? Why wouldn't they just let that be free? Whoever has a cure for this.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. I mean, yeah, referring to the idea that this guy was like a retired vet, talking about some Facebook rant, and this guy, he's a retired vet, and I really don't want to get into whatever. We shouldn't have really said his name, anyway. But aside from that, Darian, but we'll get into that. I mean, he was just assuming that we should have vaccines and medication for free, and somehow not considering the people that need to distribute, the people that need to produce the medicine, the people that need to distribute it, the people that need to administer it. I mean, all that is a job, right? Requires some people. Of course, you can automate most of that with technology, but now we're just ranting on. But back to the contributions of Austrian economics. The marginal revolution, the subjective theory of value, this was revolutionary because it gave an explanation as to why diamonds are worth more than water, right? It gave an explanation as to why, um, I don't know, some things that are that you wouldn't consider even being of value personally still happen to exist out in the world. Hey, I don't smoke crack, but it's still produced for whatever
And it still has some value to
to somebody out there.
yeah, the consumer.
To somebody out there. So subjectively, so who am I to impose my subjective will and view over somebody else, right? And this is what eventually von Mises took. Von Mises took Carl Menger's point of view of the subjective theory of value, the marginal revolution in economics, and really took it to the theory, or to the rather the scientific analysis of human action, which is the notion that all human beings are rational beings and act according to their set value scales, like just like Carl Menger described, that each individual has a set value scale on different goods and wants and desires, and those things fluctuate and change depending on your desire at the moment. There's times when you start getting hungry, you start getting thirsty, whatever, and in a lot of ways this is kind of the really basic knowledge. This isn't really revolutionary. What's revolutionary is then coming in full coming into full control of your time and resources, and using them to their maximum ability, right? Using them for their maximum positivity. That's the true sign of a G right there. I mean, so this is just getting into like the basics of, hey, we have time and energy and resources that we have control over. Let's manage these in our best ability. But so that's basically, you got the subjective revolution, the marginal revolution. You got human action brought to you von Mises. Mises and his associate Friedrich Hayek came up with another revolutionary contribution of the Austrian school. They're the only school in economics to describe properly the fluctuation in the ups and downs, right? The crazy ups and downs of the market, the business cycle. Why is it that there's a business cycle? There's high ends and then low ends, and it's like this wave up and downs, up and downs, up and downs. Economists have been striving to try to explain this for I mean decades and centuries, right? So von Mises and Hayek got together, and they basically realized that it all had to do with the central bank. There was essentially, once a government, once a centralized institution has control over over the money supply, that's what creates the fluctuation in the market. Well, how does it create? Well, what we need to realize is we need to take money out of the picture and analyze the market as simply the production and trade of goods and services. That is the economy. Right? Take money, the medium that you're using, whatever medium you're using, gold, silver, Federal Reserve notes, Bitcoin, whatever. Take that out of the picture for a second, and just analyze what's really what the economy is at its core, at its bone, and its services, its goods being produced and services being given at exchange in exchanges and with people and whatnot. So once you realize that, okay, that's simply what's happening in the market, and the medium of exchange is either the communally, in other words, the market agreed to medium, right? Or it's the state, the socialist, the statist inflicted, right, enforced medium of exchange.
The crony medium of exchange.
Yeah, the crony medium, yeah. And whichever, so once it's gone crony, once it's gone
full blown statist,
full blown Marxist with the central bank, you got to have a central bank. I mean, even Joseph Proudhon, when he debated Frederick Bastiat over rent and interest, revealed his true colors and said, okay, you're right, Bastiat. If people give away their gold and their silver and loan it out to somebody, they have a right to ask for a little bit of interest. Okay. Because ask for something in return, because
spend money, make money.
They're giving a service. But he said, but then Proudhon says, the guy that created mutualism, which a lot of people associate with, but apparently don't really read what their founder had to say about a
I'm
lot
really
of things.
consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean, and we're all inconsistent to some degree, but at least if you're gonna call yourself a Christian, if you're gonna call yourself a Muslim, if you're gonna call yourself a mutualist, if you're gonna call yourself an agorist, you gotta, like, in a lot of ways, you gotta keep the founder of your particular philosophy or religion, like, consistent with the way you're living and thinking, right? Because once you separate from that, then you're diverting from the whatever that message might be, right? Be it religious and ideological or philosophical and principled, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So going back to the Austrian business cycle theory, taking out of the equation any kind of medium of exchange in the economy, and just observing the economy for what it is, the creation of good and the exchange of services, and the exchange of those goods created, then you can see how once there is a centralized monopoly on the medium of exchange through government, through a central bank, enforced in the name of the name of the people, in the name of the collective, but really just a state institution, this hierarchical, right, statist institution, mostly patriarchal and white privilege. If you want to get into cultural Marxism, I mean, look at the government, right? And I mean, yeah, I mean, right? I mean, if the world is run by white rich men, straight men, then let's get rid of government so they can't force their ways upon everybody else, right? I mean, they'll just anyhow. But you can see how once you control the medium of exchange in that situation, and you flood the market with the medium of exchange, what's going to happen? Well, the producers that get that medium of exchange, first off the hand at the get-go, are going to probably they're going to calculate all the money they have, right? And they're going to base their future projects on current prices, right? And then so they're going to start building a big skyscraper. They're going to start building some kind of scientific research study or a project of some kind, a bridge, whatever. You see this a lot in the third world countries, but the point being is that once the money diverts further into the economy, and everyone realizes that there's that the demand has gone up, in other words, because more people have access to more money, prices automatically rise. And then at the end, the person that invested in that future project, once prices have risen a year and a half down the ways, can't freaking finish their project, right? Right? They've been tricked by the central bank.
They're like, fuck.
They've been tricked by the collective
I
socialists.
I got a lot of money missing. Ooh, got a huge dent in my wallet.
Yeah, I smell burning. It ain't just flesh. It's money. It's your wealth. It's your
hard-earned sweat and labor.
Yeah, your ingenuity. But so they inflate everything, and then the project has to fall, and it fails. You see this in a lot of third world countries. I've been down to Mexico, and you see like just a lot of skyscrapers or a lot of buildings. Well, we would consider skyscrapers even here in like San Antonio. Like 30-story buildings and stuff, like 40-story buildings or whatnot.
Anything higher than the Tower of America?
Anything higher than a tree is considered like a skyscraper.
Anything higher than the Hyatt Motel is considered a skyscraper. Like, come on.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen skyscrapers.
Oh no, I've been to New York City, man. That stuff looks crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You just walking around, dude. You walking around like in the middle of Manhattan, dude, and all you like peripheral vision upward can see to like a comfortable place of positioning of your head.
Yeah.
And the trajectory of your eyes, like all you see is building, bro.
That's
all
crazy.
You see is building, and then even when you try looking up, it takes a lot of effort to really like stretch out like your neck. And
you're like gravity is kind of working against me and angling my head. Then
Now it's badass because
unfortunately, I've never been out of this freaking state.
oh, boo.
I've never seen anything beyond Texas. I've been all over Texas, but I've never seen the outside. So it's kind of like a skyscraper to me, like pretty tall buildings in Dallas.
Yeah.
But nah, nothing compared to like the Big Apple.
Right. Well, yeah, no, yeah, definitely, and it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience to see all those buildings and see all those people interacting, and how millions, thousands of people literally are walking, by each other, hundreds of people at a time, and no one's really. It's almost like you have the most privacy in that situation. Believe it or not, I don't know how I can explain that. I mean, I felt like I was like no one looked at me. If that makes any sense. Like here, you walk by somebody and it's like almost you're obligated to like say like, oh, good evening, and like, oh, howdy, and like,
what's going on?
How's it going? Or
What's up,
nod
man?
and make eye contact, because you hardly ever see somebody walk by you. Like when you do, it's starting to barely get to that point to where it's like, okay, it starts to feel like a big city, but and
yeah, we're coming a big metropolis in this area.
It's just weird, man. It's just weird. I don't know if humans were meant to live like that or not, but for sure the state has forced human beings into that kind of
it's a new
that centralized living, city conglomerate metropolis, megapolis, right?
It's like it's the new Babylon for sure, bro.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just so to wrap up the Austrian business cycle, once people that have investors or entrepreneurs or capitalists that have gotten first hand of the money, first whim of the money, after the as far as the first hand of the goyim, right, of those that aren't the initiates and the higher ups that take full benefit of it, they make an investment for about a year or two, and then they have to finish their project halfway through it. It's considered, it's a huge loss, and this is what causes a curtailing in the production cycle and the purchasing cycle. And it gets more technical than that, obviously. I'm still reading up on it, and we'll definitely bring more to y'all, because I don't want to just remain on the surface of these issues, right? I want to go from
we can go
basic introduction
let's go
to
the
like
depths with this.
Yeah. See how far the rabbit hole we can go with Alice, right? See how far we can go down the rabbit hole. And I'm trying to think if anything else the Austrian school really contributed to. I mean, they contribute a lot to the production cycle and the time preference and the heavy emphasis on that. That's a key thing to keep in mind. It's very important, and we'll definitely get into that when we get further in economics. It's kind of a cursory thing because we're trying to get to Agorism, but of course, Austrian economics leads to Rothbardianism. It leads Austrian economics, being that it's so laissez-faire, being that it's so free market, so libertarian. Yeah, so free market, so libertarian, so left, so liberal, right? It truly is liberal because it cares not about boundaries of nation states, right? If there's a great example that von Mises gives in his pamphlet Liberalism, he gives his example of this train that's like going along this border, and it's constantly like going from back and forth from one border to the other. It's crossing sides into two different states. It makes complete nonsense. It makes complete it wastes resources, it wastes time, it wastes energy, it wastes effort, all these things, to have to show your papers every time you went in and out of each country. You have to go through the bureaucratic process of the state regiment, and just having to comply, single file, and having to show your documents and get them scanned, and go through the Homeland Security TSA situation. It's counter market. So a true liberal would say, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Borders are arbitrary. They're irrelevant. They have nothing to do with anything. All that's real is humanity. All that's real is this world. All that's real is each and every one of us as individuals.
I hear that,
right?
Man.
Right. Yeah. That's all that's real, and everything else is just a figmentation brought to either control us.
It is the matrix.
Yeah. The
illusion.
Or a figmentation that is actually a reality in the case of, like, I'm not going to throw away God and stuff and whatnot, but even that has a logic to it. Even that has empirical evidence that can be backed up. And we'll get into those topics down the ways. Don't get me wrong. I've been taking a lot of notes on this intelligent design evolutionary debate, and I would love to get some of you ANCAPs in on it, and definitely just have a search out for the truth, see what it goes down with that. But going back to where Austrian economics leads is to Rothbardianism and true liberalism, a total negation of anything arbitrary or enforced by the state, and just as people see fit, they do. So there's going to be pockets of what would be considered, socially conservative, and there'll be pockets of what would be considered socially liberal. Like, you have more, your Mardi Gras areas, where they have their festivals. You can have your gays running around, like whatever, I mean, I don't laugh like to belittle. I just laugh because it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's everyone's right.
Anything
It's
goes
everyone's
in
right.
this country.
Yeah,
Everybody's free.
or not even country, because those are arbitrary. In this, really, the only thing that exists is cities, right, or towns, or
the world.
these metropolises that eventually, well, I guess, will break up as statism loses its grip, and people can survive, more efficiently off the barren land. People, I think, will spread out more. Hopefully, we'll see that happen for sure. But with Rothbardianism, the idea, so liberalism, right, this negation of all these arbitrary laws, all these enforced regulations, leads to a stateless society, leads to what Rothbard considered to be a privatized contractual society, right? Which we know everything that comes along with that. The idea that arbitration, the idea that law, the idea that the enforcement of protection and the arbitration of law, the ruling of said agreements, contracts, will all be done through the market, and through market forces, and through competition, and through laissez-faire, right? Through people being entrepreneurs, and the best innovation coming up ahead. And with that being said, I mean, we really all need to be getting into crypto anarchy, right? Which seems to be a major contributor of agorism, because moving along from the contractual society of Rothbardianism, before Konkin even came in, I guess a lot of people, Konkin aside, a lot of people just stuck with Rothbard essentially, and they try to see how they can make a world, be run, through technology, and have private arbitration and contracts through computer systems. And these people were Rothbardian, and they were all Timothy Hayes, Mays. I'm sorry, Timothy Mays. Definitely check out his work. I mean, his writings. I mean, the original cypherpunks. They were guerrilla capitalists. I mean, the reason they wanted to have encrypted communication was to engage in exchanges that the state, for whatever reason, whatever state in whatever area, that given state at that given time, considered to be against their regulatory code, right? Even though it was perfectly aligned with natural law, natural rights. So it's so that's a major contribution of, which is really just agorism in action. I mean, agorism is the idea of guerrilla capitalism in action. Sure, Konkin had his issues with the term capitalism. He brought up who did he bring up? He brought up some socialist some socialist writer. I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, brought up the fact that capitalism was a term primarily used for essentially crony capitalism, or the bourgeoisie taking over with the state, right? And taking over crony capitalism, taking over the whole means of production. People are shut out of it. That being the true definition of capitalism. But as we've read before, Turgot, Turgot, Google his name and type in capitalism, way before the reference Konkin made. which who was that reference, man? I wish I knew that reference, but before that reference was made, this guy like over 100 years ago, prior to the guy, uh, came up with the proper analysis or definition or articulation of what it meant to be a capitalist. And it's essentially a worker who has saved enough um, medium of exchange, saved enough wealth in order to then invest into things, invest into primarily means of production. So a cow and a plow back in the day, or a printing press as technology came out, or a tractor. You're a worker, you save up some money on the side, and you eventually take out a loan on a tractor or something like that to help you produce some stuff.
What about making money back from 3D printers?
Oh yeah, yeah. It just further expands there. I mean, saving money to buy a 3D printer, and 3D printing jewelry, and 3D printing different kinds of home, like little
Yeah, those 3D
majiggers.
3D printers are really going to help us Agorist out. Really, I mean, it'd be a good investment to get one of those.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely, definitely. So with crypto anarchy, right? This really brings us into the contribution of agorism philosophically, of what it had to offer, that Rothbard, in his analysis of Rothbardianism and all that, came a little bit short. And as we've covered, we covered a couple things, but the main ones really being the fact that we're not, probably the main one that makes the main separation, right? The main line in the sand is the political action. Rothbardians and anarcho-capitalists are okay with using political action, um, because they see it as practical. They see it as, uh, David Friedman, right? Milton Friedman's son. That they see it as the utilitarian, the consequentialist approach, the utilitarian approach. It makes sense if you can curtail back the state. If you can vote to give yourself a longer leash, then it'd be somehow like you're achieving some kind of positive freedom. Unfortunately, what Rothbard failed to see, and he debated Konkin on this fact, and I highly suggest that people read that the read Konkin, and then read Rothbard's critique of Konkin. And Konkin didn't write that much, so just read the New Libertarian Manifesto and read the Agorist Primer. We've covered that in our shows. Read that, and then read Rothbard's attack of that. And on a couple points, Rothbard was on. I would concede to Rothbard, and on a couple points, I would concede to Konkin. And so it's important to be objective about everything and not hold people up on a pedestal and worship right, the messenger. We got to actually dive in through the message here, through the
Yeah,
philosophy.
take in what applies most to you and what is most consistent with liberty.
Yeah. So the anti-principle, Konkin was infamous for coming up with a whole bunch of coining a bunch of terms. And as we know, right, as objectivists, like, terms are just abstract notions in human mind, in humans' minds, to articulate different ideas and concepts of reality, of the metaphysical. Um, so Konkin came up with coined these terms that obviously means like so much more, right? They're terms meaning these bigger concepts and bigger applications to them. Well, one of them being anti-principle, or anti-principles, and this being what we're essentially talking about now. And a quote that I kind of been working on, that kind of sums up this train of thinking, is essentially, if you think that liberty can be achieved through democracy, you don't understand either, right? You don't understand liberty, and you don't understand democracy, because democracy inherently, political democracy inherently corrupts. And right, and freedom,
It's
liberty,
shown, right?
yeah, liberty is eternal, is natural law. It doesn't matter how many people vote for it. Politically, now, voting through the market, through the supply and demand factor, is a beautiful thing. right? When an organization, when a company is actually giving a service, when someone is actually making a product considered of value to people through the free market, they don't need donations, they don't need uh, subsidies, right? They just right, they contribute in, they contribute in society, they're building that, that is the best uh, measure of practicality and what use and value, right? That is the best measure of value, is people having their personal decision to be able to choose to spend X amount of resources on your product or service in a free market, proves that you're valuable to them. If they're forced to, then you know what, that value is very skewed, right? It's very imposed at that point, like,
Very imposed upon.
yeah.
So let me do what I want. My time, my resources. I'm taking a gamble here. Uh, we were talking about that earlier, weren't we? We were talking about
What's that?
the difference between a capitalist and an entrepreneur.
Yeah, we discussed that. Yeah, Rothbard broke that down in his book for sure. But we were, with agorism, um, the anti-principle, right? That word being that major contribution, because think about it: in order to come to libertarianism, in order to come to a free market society, even to come to Rothbardianism, you have to be principled. You have to be consistent. So why are we all of a sudden giving up the very thing that made us who we are? Right? Why are we all of a sudden giving up our main objective, our main principle, which is to use our brain instead of using some like religion or some, made up thing or some emotional argument or some, subjective value, which, could very well be valid. We're not invalidating someone's subjective value. We're just saying that it needs to be weighed out, right? And amongst society, it needs to be balanced out amongst the supply and demand factor, the catalytics, right?
Yes.
Um, okay, so there's the anti-principle, right? Can achieve freedom through democracy. Democracy, we know, is collectivist, is denying freedom. Um, what's another contribution of agorism? Well, Konkin had his terminology of the red market and the red marketeers. This is very important too of understanding, because when an agorist talks to an anarcho-capitalist and they try to explain to them, hey, our solution isn't the political means, it's using the black and the gray market. um, a lot of people may be confused. They may assume or may think that when you say black market, they're assuming like, you're buying, like, I don't know, some stereo that was ripped out of some lady's car, or
You selling some uranium? You selling me some uranium for
selling,
for my Dolores?
yeah, or selling someone's organs, right, against their will, like some guy you drugged up, right, took his organs, like. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you tell people black markets are the solution, they don't they think the criminal market, right? The market that as a Rothbardian, as a libertarian, you would consider not even really the market at all, because we understand, again, we understand what a true exchange is, and a true exchange by definition is one that's voluntary. So the moment you take away the voluntary factor of it, then it's no longer an exchange. It's a plundering. It's a usurpation. It's a parasitic act. It's theft. It's coercion. It's evil. It's a sin. It's a no-no, right? It's a socially unacceptable, and the person has the right to retaliate up to the point of getting what's rightfully back, not anything above and beyond that. So you can't shoot, like we were saying earlier. This is a big difference between a lot of anarcho-capitalists and agorists. Even though Rothbard completely and Friedman completely understood this fact, but the punishment is supposed to fit the crime. I forget, there's this fancy word for a Latin word or whatnot, but it's either fitting the crime, or a punishment being determined by those that are inflicted upon. And it's no, it should fit the crime. Like, you can't shoot somebody in the face for walking on your flowers, or uh, you know tackle somebody and hurt, and bust them up because they took your safety pin or something.
He can't punch a guy in the face just because he knocked on your door to talk to you about Jehovah. I mean, you obviously got to weigh out like what's going on in your property. You don't just randomly act, in a violent manner. I mean, the human being is going to evaluate a situation like that and be like, oh, well, he's just in my yard. Oh, wait, that's the mailman. What day is it? Thought it was Sunday. Thought there was no post on Sunday. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's arguable whether the mailman has already aggressed on you or not, because they are getting paid by taxes. So that's a whole other story on
Oh,
itself.
yeah. They're working on Fed.
Yeah. But
Okay. FedEx.
but no, but going back to another, the second term we were talking about, contribution of agorism, Konkinism, is his term of red market and red marketeer, and it really to separate the black market activity from the market activity or so-called market activity, right? Not really market, we know that. That is intrusionary, that is evil, that is coercive, right? That is stealing, theft, aggressionary. Um, so we need to make that distinction, and that's a cool clarification, especially when you consider the white market being the tax market, and the authorized and the legitimized, right? The licensed and the regulated in the tax market, and then the black market doesn't even really. I mean, black markets are the solution as long as there's a state. Of course, rebelling against the state, even if you're remaining consistent with natural law, is going to be illegal against the regulations, and illegal according to their so-called usurpation of laws, right? But it's not the case. So the black market is just temporary as long as the state exists. Uh, right? It's just voluntary activity that's deemed illegal. So people growing certain plants and trading them, people deciding to give certain medical practices like chiropractic, or give medical advice, right? Give dietary advice, like you'll get shut down if they catch on to you, if you're giving too much advice, and you're not really you're not approved and licensed by the
And you're
FDA and the
producing
AMA.
perfectly healthy patients. They're gonna get it. They're
Exactly,
gonna get
yeah.
on your case and be like, your patients are too healthy.
Right. So we really need to clarify the differences, and really we're all trying to achieve the gray market, right? In the end, a world without the state. There would be no taxed and regulated markets, so they're in taxed and licensed markets. um, they would be regulated as far as the market goes, right? The self market regulation, but it wouldn't be an arbitrary regulation, is what we're referring to. Uh, but there wouldn't be any white market, and there wouldn't be any black market, because the state wouldn't exist, and the red market would be significantly cut down, right? If the state didn't exist. It, um, the pink market, we barely discussed that one. All the subsidized industry, the white market industry, of course, that would be out of the picture. The military-industrial complex, the agricultural complex, the education complex, just everything, right?
Public works and all
Yeah, the
that
public
shit.
works.
Everything would have to be privatized, so that actually gives a lot of capitalists and entrepreneurs a chance to make something of themselves, right?
Yeah, and privatize legitimately, because this is another. Here we get to another really essential contribution of agorism, since we're trying to legitimately reach out to the left, and by the left I mean the true left, the anti-war, the anti-imperialistic, the anti-racist, the anti-bigot, the anti uh, right the anti-exploitation, the anti-control freak, right? The anti-statist. Essentially, that's what a true liberal or the true left would be. um Bringing that out, we have no right to be forcing our subjective views on other people, as far as those things go. Kind of lost my track there, my bad. um Kind of sipping here on, so our third brew here for the night.
Yeah.
Closing it up.
It's throwing it
But
down hard.
No, but
Mhm.
but with the red market, right? That to wrap up that point, the red market, that contribution, that it's really only the gray market versus the red market in the end. At the end of the day, that's all we're dealing with here. The free market, the free exchange of goods and services, the gray market, right? It's not black, the state doesn't exist. It's not white, it's not pink, the state doesn't exist. But we're still dealing with the red. We're still dealing with people that want to live off of plunder, that want to live by
Off of stolen goods
exploitation.
and
Yeah,
shit.
exploitation off of theft. But at least let's reduce it to that, right? And we'll reduce all those other ones by getting rid of the state. So that's another key point. And if you would add the consistency factor to it, then the Agora solution is found within the gray market. Is found within at first the black market, because at first it's going to be demonized illegal. At first it was demonized illegal to have a free slave back when slavery was institutionalized. It was illegal to it's illegal to have certain medicines, when certain substances are institutionalized as illegal. Like, it's ridiculous. It's our right to resist and be free as rational human beings here. I mean, we're not monkeys. We're not cattle to be herded and to be caged. We're not chickens. And if some of y'all want to be chickens, go ahead.
And
Voluntary slavery.
we got voluntary hierarchy.
Yeah. So red market, that's a major contribution of Rothbardianism. Getting into another one that's really essential in the process would have to be the idea of class warfare. Konkin and his associates, really took the one thing that was still viable from Marxist ideology, that was still the one thing that was considered, the reason people still consider Marxism valid and interesting, is this idea of class warfare, that there is a class that's living and exploiting the rest of us, the working class. And it rings really true, right? Because it's very close to the truth. It's extremely close to the truth. And that's the one thing that's kept it alive. Because obviously economic Marxism is dead. That's why they've had to resort to cultural Marxism, which is in the dying process. You can't just divide society into different classes and groups and stuff. That ain't gonna work. So the only thing that's viable is we need you Marxists. If any of you are listening, we seriously need y'all to look into and consider Agora's class theory, because what it points out so articulately is that the real class warfare that exists, the real exploitative class that exists versus the exploiting class, right? The hierarchical institutions. The difference isn't the ownership of the means of production, right? Because as Turgot pointed out, the means of production are simply bought by workers saving up and buying themselves a means of production. So, I buy myself, I save up, I work, I work at a wage job. I save some money on the side, $20 a paycheck or $30, $40 a paycheck, whatever. A couple paychecks down the ways, I buy myself a mower, right? And I use that mower to mow some yards.
To go into the gray.
Yeah.
There's some gray market activity.
Exactly. At that moment, I have become a capitalist of sorts. I have bought into a means of production, if you will. And in the fact that the state is cracking down on people that are buying the means of production and trying to achieve their own livelihood and hire people, the fact that the state is cracking down on entrepreneurs and businessmen proves that it isn't the capitalists versus the workers. It further proves the point, right? Because if the capitalists owned the state, why would capitalists go against capitalists? So it's not the capitalists that own the state then. It's a select group. It's the cronies. It's the state apparatus itself for its own self-interest. It's the state.
It's their own members of their own mafia.
Right. That's Oppenheimer, Franz Oppenheimer, Heimer pointed that out. That there's the obviously the political class and the market class. The market class gaining their all their wealth through the production of natural resources into products, and then trading, or people that have attained wealth through trade itself. That would be the market means, and then the political means, which is the institutionalization and the basically the writing in stone of the freaking of plunder, of theft, of a class that lives parasitically off the free market, off the agora. Now, where Agora's class theory adds to this, because this was brought up by Rothbard in his Anatomy of the State. Franz Oppenheimer pointed out that the two different classes. What Agorism gets even further into, neatly enough, is it divides every single human action, every single Micean praxeological choice that we make, into it puts it into a scale, if you will, of a level of gray into more agorist anti-state activity, and a level of red, right, statist activity. That's essentially what Agora's class theory defines things as. So paying taxes, right, as Morpheus puts it, you feel the matrix whenever you pay your taxes. Yeah, paying your taxes is definitely red market activity. You're funding war, plunder, extortion, murder.
You definitely start to question
Sabotage,
yourself and
terrorism.
be like, what the fuck? Why am I paying them? What the fuck am I doing with my money? Why am I just giving them this? Why are they just taking it from me? Actually, that really calls me to question, why is this happening? It's
Oh, it's for
because
your good, Darian. It's for your good.
it's for the good of others, for the good of for all.
The children.
Yeah, it's like then it's for them. Then why do we have a $17 trillion debt?
Put on the backs of the same children.
And it's funny, how do you have debt? Just taking everybody's money. You've been stealing from people for a good while now. You think you would have a good amount of money, but you still have debt. That's funny.
Yeah. So that's hilarious, man. So in that case, right? In that case, for the debt, for example, let's take this into from the philosophical, the theoretical, to the practical, to the real, right, to the concrete. How do we deal with the fact that we are bound to the debt, to the U.S. debt, through our Social Security, through our birth certificate? I mean, the only option I see, something that we're currently looking into, and probably going to achieve, I mean, hopefully within this next year, is and try to figure out how we can do it properly and with all etiquette or whatnot. But essentially, our kingdom is not of this world. I mean, Darian doesn't share this belief with me, and I mean, that's perfectly fine. I don't hold any grudges or animosity towards you, brother.
Yeah.
In that sense. And I call you a brother through humanitarian, through the humanitarian cause. I mean, you're my brother by blood, by flesh and bone, by by ideas, by our for the future kids. You're my brother for as men.
Oh yeah.
As men, brother.
Laissez-faire.
And yeah, man. I mean, regardless, though, I mean, this idea of just giving up. I know it's going out. I don't want to get into the sermon or whatnot, but get all preachy with it.
Bust the Bible out.
Yeah, bust out the word here. But we just finished talking about we just finished talking about what the Agorist class theory, anti principles, about the need for the consistency, and then what's another contribution of Agorism? Well, you have the idea that people shouldn't be punished, right? We talked about that in our couple episodes back, how Rothbard and whatnot and other anarcho-capitalists believe that there should be a penalty for breaking a crime, aside from the actual cost of restitution, time preference, arbitration, and everything else. There needed to be a penalty cost on top of all that. Whereas Agorism, Konkin said, no, you just need to pay for the actual restitution, the time preference, and the arbitration. But why should you need to pay for like this extra like punishment? Like to, like so long as you right what you did wrong in every sense of the word, right? What's the big fucking deal, right? What's the big freaking deal, right?
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't punish. This is getting into theocracy now, where we need to like punish people. And Konkin even says, let God and conscience punish people's bad acts, bad choices and bad ideas. Like we're not here to punish. We're here to bring restitution, right? And that's the beauty about liberty. That's the beauty about libertarianism. That's the beauty about consistent libertarianism, which goes far beyond Rothbardianism and to this realm of tomorrow, this realm of today. We Agorism. We need each and every one of you to do your best and to network and to form alliances. We need to get this going. Need to start forming local little groups in your particular town.
Start getting active in your streets. Start, doing your own show on YouTube. We very much encourage it. Start doing, some street action. Just get out there. Just be encouraged to question the state apparatus. Question, this red market monopoly we have, and just Agora anarchy action, man. Like,
Yeah, definitely. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. And yeah, man. I mean, there was and we got to go beyond that too, Darian. I mean, it's getting to the point to where we need to start getting together in groups of 8 to 12. You need to form a group of hardcore 8 to 12 people who are willing to get together every freaking week and duke it out as far as which house is going to be used for growing food at, which house is going to be used for working on electronics at, which house is going to be used for working on weapons at and training and doing that stuff at, which house is going to be used for this and that, different things. And if we all specialize and form this division of labor within the movement, we can definitely get things done on a lot more efficient basis. And that's why we need each and every one of you to bring your talents to this and your contribution. And so, we all got our own, and we're holding it down here in San Antonio. If you're in San Antonio, get in contact with us. Free San Antonio, Agora Underground. We got Agora Central Texas, Agora Center of Thought. Definitely check us out. We're also on Truth Exposed Radio.
Check out Free San Antonio as well as a Facebook page. Take a look at new articles that we put up, local articles, things that are happening here within our town. Also articles just
and we're just hubs. We're just hubs, right?
Yeah.
We haven't come out with too much original material as of yet. We're really just hubbing all the information, from what's going on. I mean, so many people are already contributing so much. So even just going through all that is a chore in itself and a pleasure in itself. But it's like we're kind of a hub, and that gives us really a better perspective of where we need to bring some our own where the demand, right, for the market's at. Once you acknowledge everybody else, you see what's missing, right? You see what's missing from the equation.
Yeah. And I was also gonna say, check out any events that we post on the page. We go to a lot of things here in town, and we're gonna be working on a video here actually after the show. We hope to have it up here on the U viewing of Tube. And you get to check it out. We'll be sure to maybe post the link on our next show, or even play it on the live feed.
Yeah, we'll get it going for sure. So it's been a long time coming for that one, and we'll get some more footage tomorrow for sure. Sunday being Sunday, we like going downtown, and we'll have some people, some stuff on anarchy, and get the message out there, get the message of liberty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate your time. Love y'all for listening. Darian, love you for being the host of this, co-host with me.
Yeah. And I love, speaking the truth. I love talking about all this, and just getting the word out there, y'all. And I hope y'all are almost consistent with liberty, and try to stay safe out there on those streets. Try to, keep a watchful eye for those cops.
That's right.
For the law.
Don't forget laissez-faire. Mind your own business.
Laissez-faire, y'all.
Take care of your kids. Agora, anarchy action.